Our next speaker is Scott Shigeoka. Scott is a one-of-a-kind storyteller and catalyst for connecting people to each other. A Bridging Differences Fellow for UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center, their deep love of people led them to write their new best-selling book, Seek: How Curiosity Can Transform Your Life and Change the World. Please welcome the irrepressible Scott Shigeoka to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. Love that. Love you all. Love this entire experience. My name is Scott Shigeoka. I am a brown-skinned Asian American. I am Yonsei, Japanese. I'm wearing a blue, maybe even cerulean shirt. Some slacks that I've had literally since high school with my speech and debate team, and super cute boots. So that's what I'm wearing. So I am obsessed about curiosity. It is one of the most incredible things that I feel that we all have as people. And curiosity is defined as the desire to know. How do I know things, right? For me, it might be, how do I know things about Beyonce's Renaissance tour, right? So I'll be curious, and I'll go on Wikipedia, listen to some podcasts, go on articles, watch some YouTube videos. But that only is the surface of what curiosity really is. That is an intellectual pursuit solely, and curiosity is far more than just intellectual. In my work, I like to invite folks to bring curiosity from the head down into the heart. To really see curiosity as not just a way to know things, but to understand someone, to see them, to hear them, to remind them that they matter because we are genuinely interested in who you are. And this heart-centered curiosity is what lights me up. It is what I am so obsessed about. And it is something that, today for us here, I want us to experience because I can talk about it all day on the stage, but there's nothing better than to actually experience it in our lived life. And so I have the pleasure for the conference today to do a little bit of a facilitation of an interactive activity for us to take our curiosity deeper. But before we do that, I want to share that curiosity is on a spectrum. On one end, we have the shallow end of curiosity, and on the other end, we have deep curiosity. And shallow curiosity is really just about getting information about a person, who someone is. You might ask, what is your name? Or what do you do for work? Or where do you live? These are all helpful ways of understanding someone, but they really only crack the surface. And when you actually move down the spectrum from shallow to deep, it is on the deep end that we can really see people, that we can really hear them, that we can really understand them. It's about diving beneath the surface. Or in other words, what I say is it's about penetrating through the layers of a person so that we can reach their soul. And deep curiosity is a set of different kinds of questions. So instead of saying, what's your name, we might say, what's the story of your name? Because there's a story in all of our names. It helps us to reveal who we are, who named us, our relationship to them, whether we even like our name, whether we've ascribed new names that represent our identities. Instead of saying, what do you do for work, we can ask, what lights you up? What's inspiring right now? What's ticking you off right now, right? That gets deeper than just the shallow. Instead of asking, where do you live, you can ask, what does home mean to you? What does that feel like? What does that look like? How do you feel safe in your home? So taking it deeper is such a fantastic way to connect with one another. So that's why I say curiosity is not just about knowing, it's actually a force for connection. It's a force for self-transformation, and we're going to practice that today with each other. So we're going to take 4 minutes here, and we are going to turn to someone preferably you don't know as well, and we're going to respond to this prompt, which is, what is a time when someone has turned to you with curiosity that made you feel like you belonged, that made you feel like you mattered. For me, I remember a dear friend, Eric, after struggling in middle school. I was bullied so much. I was isolated. I was othered. And it wasn't until high school when someone who became my best friend actually turned towards me and started to ask me questions and showed that he was genuinely interested in me. And I felt so much less alone in all of my struggles and in all my pain. So, yeah, shout out to Eric. I want you to turn to your neighbor and share a story. You're going to have 4 minutes, so make sure that both of you have a chance to share. And then for those who are on the live stream, because I see you, you're also online. We all have different ways of experiencing this. On the right side of the video, there's a chat. And if you write in a story of someone who's made you feel like you belonged because they were curious about you, then we can all read it and really connect to one another. So 4 minutes, and then I'm going to ring some chimes to bring us back and close out. All right, you're going to thank your partner for sharing. It's so electric. Deep curiosity is so electric. You just get enraptured in the conversation. You want to continue talking. You want to continue connecting. And throughout the next 2 days and throughout our lives, may we continue to bring in that deep curiosity. I do a lot of this work and this research, and not just sort of a woo way, but I also look at it through the research lens too at UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center. And for those of you who don't know, it's an incredible organization with lots and lots of free resources. We essentially translate the science and the research of well-being and connected relationships into articles and videos and free resources like Greater Good in Action, which is this information and this kind of research should be free and freely accessible to everyone. It should not be locked behind corporate paywalls. It should be free. We should all have this research available to us, and it should be accessible. But I've also realized that curiosity is a tool, especially in this moment in our country when we are so divided and we're experiencing such toxic polarization. I don't know about y'all, but I definitely felt this and feel this in my family and in my communities. And that's why before the last elections, I traveled across the country for 12 months in my Toyota Prius, which I learned a lot from Dr. Ruthie yesterday about what that did. But I learned a lot about that. But I did travel in a Prius, which is a very California cliche, as this very queer, gender nonconforming Asian American progressive who spent, most of my adult life in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I've, really had these moments inside of myself, to be honest with y'all, where I was actively othering people. I was actively othering people who I did not understand or who I disagreed with. And so I went on this journey to see if there could be a way where I could transform. Could I bring this research and these strategies on curiosity and what would happen? So for those 12 months, I went to a Trump rally in Minnesota. For those 12 months, I went to a church. I lived in rural Appalachia. I lived in the South for months at a time. Places that honestly, I had a sense of fear and anxiety, but what happened on the road was that was lifted from me. It was transformed when I actually chose to not operate from judgment, but from my curiosity instead. And something really magical also happened in many of these interactions, not all, but many of these interactions, where curiosity is contagious. We know this from the research. So when I started to ask them questions, and they were no longer on the defensive, they were starting to ask me questions. And some of them had never met someone like me before, And so I was able to share my stories and who I am, and we're able to better connect, right? But I want to nuance this by saying that curiosity isn't some kumbaya, let's just hold hands and bridge across the divides. It has its limits and its boundaries too. Curiosity, for instance, is not about dampening revolutionary emotions like anger, okay? That is so, so important for us to recognize our human condition, to strive together, to have accountability and call for that. Curiosity is not about consensus building either. It's about understanding why we are who we are, our stories, our values, and what makes us who we are, so that we can work towards belonging rather than to other. Curiosity is also earned, and it is not deserved. Curiosity is earned, and it is not deserved. So you might have a curiosity about someone's hair, about their culture, about whether they're pregnant or not, but it does not mean you're entitled to that information. It does not. You are not entitled to that information, okay? Curiosity is earned, meaning you have to build the trust and build the relationship, right? I love deep curiosity, but I'm not necessarily going to go up to people today at this conference and say, what's the deepest childhood trauma you've ever experienced, right? Like that's not, I might be down actually to answer that, but not all of us are. So we got to respect those boundaries, right? And really see it as a fluid process where we start from the shallow and we enter the deep. The final thing that I wanted to say is what I love about curiosity so much, especially this heart-centered curiosity, is that to me, it is love, right? In this world full of so much hate and so much division, if love is a verb, to me, I see the verb as an act of curiosity, right? When we choose to be curious, we're actually loving people. That's what I felt from Eric. That's what I felt from so many people in my lives. That's what people felt when I asked them questions, even across our lines of division. And so an invitation for us today is in our belonging strategies, in our lives, in our work, how do we integrate curiosity as a lens, as a practice that we continue to do to act as a force of connection, to act as a force of self-transformation, so that we indeed can love and so we can move towards belonging rather than othering. Thank you so much.